I sit in the mahogany-paneled conference room of Chen Industries, my hands folded calmly in my lap, and watch my adoptive mother's mouth move. She's saying the same words she said in my previous life, almost verbatim. Xinyi, you need to understand that this is for the good of the family. Her voice drips with false compassion, the kind that used to make me doubt myself. Your sister has worked so hard on her research. If you file your patent now, it will overshadow hers completely. The timing is just unfortunate. Unfortunate. That's what she called it last time, too, when she convinced me to withdraw my patent application for a revolutionary carbon capture technology that could have changed the world. Unfortunate that my 5 years of research happened to compete with my adoptive sister Melissa's mediocre recycling process proposal. Unfortunate that I had to sacrifice my life's work so Melissa could have her moment in the sun. In my first life, I believed them. I withdrew the application. And then I watched as Melissa filed a patent that was suspiciously similar to mine. Not identical enough to prove theft, but close enough that I knew she'd somehow accessed my research. By the time I tried to refile, I was hit with accusations of stealing from her. The family closed ranks. I was cast out, penniless and disgraced. I died in a laboratory fire 2 years later, alone and broken, still trying to prove my work was original. But that was my first life. I woke up on the morning of my 25th birthday, 3 years before that conference room meeting, gasping in my childhood bed with the acrid smell of smoke still in my lungs. The memories of my death, of the years of betrayal, hit me like a tsunami. I spent that entire day in a daze, testing the reality of my situation, checking dates, confirming that I was truly back. Then I got to work. I appreciate your concern, Mother, I say now, using the title she insisted I call her, even though she made it clear I was never truly her daughter. But I'm afraid I can't withdraw my application. My adoptive father, Richard Chen, sets down his crystal whiskey glass with a sharp click. Xinyi, this isn't a request. I understand. I meet his eyes without flinching. In my previous life, this was where I crumbled, where the weight of their disappointment, of my desperate need to belong to this family that had plucked me from an orphanage, crushed my spine. But the answer is still no. Melissa leans forward, her perfectly manicured nails drumming on the table. She's 28, beautiful in the way that money and confidence create, and she's never forgiven me for being smarter. Xinyi, don't be difficult. Your little project can wait. My research is time-sensitive. The Climate Solutions Conference is in 3 months, and I need to present there. Then present, I say simply, and I'm not stopping you. Your patent application will undermine my credibility. Her voice rises, losing the sweet sister act. When people see that Chen Industries has 2 competing environmental technologies, they'll question our direction. It makes us look disorganized. Then perhaps you should have thought of that before accessing my research files, I say quietly. The room goes silent. What are you implying? My adoptive mother's voice is ice. I'm not implying anything. I'm stating a fact. In the 2 weeks after I first submitted my preliminary research to the family database, as required by my contract with Chen Industries, Melissa's research direction shifted to focus on carbon capture. Prior to that, she was working on solar panel efficiency. Richard's face darkens. You're accusing your sister of theft? I'm observing a timeline. I pull out a folder. I came prepared this time. Here are the dates of my database submissions. Here are the dates of Melissa's project pivot. Here is the similarity analysis I had done by an independent third party. I slide the papers across the table. I had all of this prepared in my previous life too, but I'd been too afraid to use it, too desperate to keep the family's love. This time, I know there's no love to lose. They never loved me. They loved the idea of charity, of rescuing an orphan. They loved the PR. They loved having someone to make Melissa look better by comparison. Melissa lunges for the papers, but I'm faster. My hand slaps down on the hem. These are copies, Basis, I say. The originals are with my lawyer. Your lawyer? My mother's laugh is shrill. Xinyi, we are your family. This is absurd. We took you in, raised you, gave you everything. You gave me an education in exchange for signing away my rights to any patents developed while under your roof. I interrupt. Clause 7, subsection 3 of the contract you had me sign when I was 18. I've since had that contract reviewed. It's not enforceable. I was a minor when you first discussed it with me, and the terms constitute undue influence. In my first life, I hadn't known this. I'd never thought to have a lawyer review the contract because I trusted them. I'd signed away my future with a smile, grateful to contribute to the family that had saved me. Richard stands up, his chair scraping against the floor. Get out. Gladly. I stand too, gathering my folder. But before I go, I should mention that my patent application isn't pending anymore. They all freeze. What do you mean? Melissa's voice is barely a whisper. I mean, it was approved. 3 months ago, actually, international patent. The paperwork was finalized last week. I own the global rights to a carbon capture and conversion technology that's approximately 74% more efficient than anything currently on the market. I've already licensed it to NewGen Corporation for a rather substantial sum. The color drains from Melissa's face. That's impossible, Gable. You only filed 6 months ago. Patents take years. Unless you file through the patent cooperation treaty with multiple jurisdictions simultaneously, and your technology is revolutionary enough to warrant expedited review. I smile, and it feels like the first genuine smile I've had in 2 lifetimes. I've been working on this for 3 years. 3 years since I woke up in my 25-year-old body. 3 years of secret research conducted in rented laboratory space far from Chen Industries. 3 years of building relationships with environmental scientists who could vouch for my work. 3 years of planning this exact moment. You've been conducting research outside the company? Richard's voice is dangerously quiet. That's a violation of your contract. The unenforceable contract? That one? I tilt my head. Besides, I resigned from Chen Industries 2 years ago. You must have forgotten. I'm sure HR has the paperwork. I had quit quietly, citing a desire to pursue independent research. They'd barely noticed. I was never important enough to pay attention to, as long as I showed up to family dinners and made Melissa look good by comparison. You can't do this, my mother says, and for the first time I hear something other than condescension in her voice. It's panic. The company's entire environmental division is counting on Melissa's presentation at the Climate Solutions Conference. We have investors waiting. Then I hope her presentation is excellent. I head for the door. Though I should warn you, NewGen is presenting at that conference too. They'll be unveiling my technology. It's going to be quite the showcase. Shinyi! Melissa's shriek follows me into the hallway. You can't do this to me! I pause at the door, looking back at her. In my previous life, she stood at my funeral. I know because I saw the photos online before I died. Saw her crying prettily for the cameras, playing the grieving sister. She'd given an interview about how tragic it was that I'd become so obsessed with proving my work was original that I'd literally worked myself to death. I'm not doing anything to you, Melissa, I say. I'm just not letting you do it to me again. I walk out, and I don't look back. The next 3 months are a blur of activity, but for the first time in either of my lives, I'm the one in control. NewGen Corporation is thrilled with the technology. They've set up a demonstration facility in California, a sprawling complex where my carbon capture units are processing emissions from a nearby power plant and converting the captured carbon into usable building materials. The efficiency rates are exceeding even my projections. Dr. Sarah Chen, no relation to my adoptive family, is the head of NewGen's environmental division, and she's become something of a mentor to me. In my previous life, I'd known of her work but never had the courage to reach out. This time, I contacted her 6 months after my rebirth, presented my preliminary findings, and asked for her guidance. You know, she says to me as we stand in the demonstration facility, watching the carbon conversion process in real time, when you first emailed me, I almost deleted it. I get 100 messages a week from people claiming they've revolutionized environmental technology. What made you read mine? The math, she grins. Your equations were beautiful, elegant. I knew immediately that whoever wrote them understood carbon chemistry at a level most people don't reach in a lifetime of study. I feel warmth spread through my chest. In my first life, no one ever praised my work like this. In the Chen household, my achievements were always qualified, always diminished. You got straight A's, but you should have gotten A pluses like Melissa. Your research is interesting, but it's not as market ready as your sister's. You're smart, but Melissa has vision. The conference is in 2 weeks, Sarah says. Are you ready? I've been ready for 3 years. She doesn't know about my rebirth, of course. No one does. But she knows I've been working on this technology with an intensity that borders on obsession, and she respects it. The Climate Solutions Conference is the biggest event in environmental technology. It's where billion-dollar deals are made, where companies announce their breakthrough technologies, where careers are launched or destroyed. In my previous life, I'd watched it online from my tiny apartment, seeing Melissa present her carbon capture technology to standing ovations while I filed legal challenges that went nowhere. This time, I'll be on that stage. But first, I have some groundwork to lay. I hire a private investigator named Marcus. He's expensive, discreet, and very good at his job. I give him a simple task: document everything Melissa is doing to prepare for her conference presentation. You want me to prove corporate espionage? He asks during our first meeting. I want you to document the truth, I say, whatever that truth is. He comes back 2 weeks later with a folder that's thicker than I expected. Your sister, he says, sliding it across the table to me, is either very stupid or very arrogant. Possibly both. The folder contains email records, meeting notes, and financial transactions. Melissa has been in contact with a disgruntled former new-gen employee, someone who was fired for data theft 6 months ago. She's paid him $100,000 for consulting services. The consulting, it appears, involved providing her with stolen preliminary data about my technology. But there's a problem. For her. The data he sold her is outdated, from before I made several crucial improvements. If she presents it as her own work, not only will it be obvious theft, but it will also be inferior to what NewGen is presenting. She's going to humiliate herself, Marcus says. Yes, I agree. She is. You could stop her, warn her. I think about the laboratory fire, about dying alone, my reputation destroyed, my life's work attributed to someone else. About Melissa crying for the cameras at my funeral while wearing the designer dress she'd bought with the proceeds from her patent. No, I say, I don't think I will. I receive a call from my adoptive mother a week before the conference. I almost don't answer, but curiosity wins. Xinyi, her voice is strained. We need to talk. I don't think we do. Please, just meet me for coffee, 1 hour. Against my better judgment, I agree. We meet at a cafe downtown, neutral territory. She arrives looking older than I remember, stress lines deep around her eyes. You look well, she says as she sits down. I am well. I've been thinking about what you said, about the contract, about Melissa's research. She wraps her hands around her coffee cup. I want you to know that we never meant to hurt you. This is new. In my previous life, she never apologized, never acknowledged any wrongdoing. I wait. We thought we were doing the right thing. Melissa needed the confidence boost. She'd always struggled with feeling like she had to live up to the Chen name, and you were always so naturally brilliant. We thought if we gave her this opportunity, helped her just a little, you helped her by stealing my work and destroying my career. She flinches. It wasn't supposed to go that far. We just wanted to give her a head start. We didn't know she would... She stops, seeming to realize she's about to confess to knowledge of the theft. Didn't know she would completely steal my research and pass it off as her own, I finish. That she would turn the family against me when I objected? That she would ruin my reputation so thoroughly that I couldn't get a job anywhere in the field? That's not what happened, she says, but her voice lacks conviction. Isn't it? I lean forward a bit. Tell me, Mother, in the version of events you've constructed in your head, where does it end well for me? Where do I get the credit I deserve? Where does my career recover? Or was I always just supposed to accept being the supporting character in Melissa's story? You're our daughter, too. No. The word comes out harder than I intended. I'm not. I never was. I was a charity case that made you feel good about yourselves. I was a comparison point to make Melissa look better. I was useful until I wasn't, and then I was disposable. Tears well in her eyes, and in my first life, this would have broken me. I would have backtracked, apologized, tried to fix things, but I've died once already. I've felt the smoke fill my lungs. I've experienced the loneliness of knowing that no one cared enough to save me. I didn't come here to make you feel better about your choices, I say, standing up. I came because I wanted to see if you'd actually acknowledge what you did. You haven't. You've just made excuses. What do you want from us? She asks, and there's something almost desperate in her voice. Nothing, I say, and I mean it. I don't want anything. From you. Not anymore. I leave her sitting there, and I feel lighter with every step. The Climate Solutions Conference takes over the Los Angeles Convention Center. Thousands of attendees, hundreds of presentations, and the entire environmental technology industry watching. Chen Industries has a booth in the main exhibition hall. I walk past it on my way to the new gen setup, and I see Melissa there, holding court with journalists. She's in her element, beautiful and confident, explaining her revolutionary carbon capture technology. The technology she stole from me. The technology that's about to be revealed as inferior and plagiarized. She sees me and her expression falters just for a moment. Then she recovers, turning back to her admirers. The new gen booth is 3 times the size of Chen Industries, and for good reason. We have a working demonstration unit, a full-scale model of the conversion facility, and a presentation schedule that has us speaking in the main auditorium, the prime slot, right before the closing keynote. Sarah finds me examining the demonstration unit, making sure everything is perfect. Nervous? She asks. No, and it's true. I'm not nervous. I'm ready. Good, because we've got the Secretary of Energy coming to your presentation, and the CEO of 3 major power companies, and, she grins, the entire board of Chen Industries. My heart skips. Richard Chen is coming? He requested a personal invitation, said he wanted to see what his former employee had been working on. Sarah doesn't know the full story, but she knows there's history. I told him we'd be delighted to have him. Perfect. Melissa's presentation is scheduled for the morning of the second day. I make sure to attend. The room is packed. Chen Industries has a reputation, and people are curious. Melissa takes the stage in a stunning blue dress, her presentation slides pristine and professional. She begins well, explaining the need for better carbon capture technology, the limitations of current systems. Then she gets to her innovation. I watch as she describes the carbon capture process. It's my process, or at least an early version of it. She's added some flourishes, some modifications that actually make it less efficient, but the core is unmistakably mine. I see several people in the audience taking notes, a few frowning slightly. Dr. James Whitmore, a carbon chemistry expert I'd consulted with during my research, raises his hand during the Q&A. Ms. Chen, the catalytic process you described, can you explain the choice of rhodium as the primary catalyst? It seems like it would be cost-prohibitive at scale. Melissa hesitates. It's barely perceptible, but I see it. The rhodium provides superior efficiency in the conversion process. But you mentioned a target cost of $50 per ton of carbon captured. With rhodium at current market prices, that seems unrealistic. We've developed proprietary methods to reduce the catalyst costs, she says smoothly. Could you elaborate on those methods? I'm afraid that's proprietary information. There's a murmur in the crowd. It's not a satisfying answer, and people know it. The questions continue, getting more technical, and I watch Melissa's confidence erode with each one. She knows the surface details, she's rehearsed well, but she doesn't understand the underlying science. She can't, because she didn't develop it. The presentation ends to polite applause. Nothing like the standing ovation she received in my previous life. I see Richard in the back of the room, his expression troubled. As people file out, I hear the whispers. It seemed derivative. The efficiency numbers don't add up. Wasn't there another carbon capture presentation scheduled? New Gen? That's this afternoon. I heard it's revolutionary. I smile. Our presentation is at 3 p.m. in the main auditorium. Sarah gives the introduction explaining New Gen's commitment to environmental technology, then hands the stage to me. I step up to the podium and look out at the sea of faces. The auditorium seats 2,000 and it's full. I see Melissa sitting next to Richard and my adoptive mother in the fifth row. Her face is pale. 3 years ago, I begin, I had an idea. What if we could not only capture carbon from the atmosphere, but convert it into something useful? Not just store it away, hoping it stays put, but transform it into building materials, into fuel, into products that would otherwise require resource extraction? I click to the first slide. It's a molecular diagram, beautiful in its complexity. The challenge was the energy cost. Previous carbon capture methods required almost as much energy as you'd save by removing the carbon in the first place. The key was finding a catalytic process that could run at ambient temperature and pressure, using renewable energy, with a net positive environmental impact. I walk them through the science, not the simplified version Melissa presented, but the real thing. The audience is rapt. These are experts, and they can tell the difference between someone reciting facts and someone who truly understands their work. The breakthrough came from rethinking the catalyst entirely. Instead of rhodium, which is expensive and rare, we use a novel iron-titanium composite. It's abundant, cheap, and under the right conditions, it's more efficient than any precious metal catalyst. I see Dr. Whitmore lean forward, his eyes bright with interest. The presentation continues. I show efficiency data, cost projections, environmental impact assessments. I show video of the demonstration facility in California, processing real emissions in real time. I show the building materials we've already produced, stronger and more durable than traditional concrete, made from captured carbon. The current carbon capture market is focused on storage, I say as I approach the conclusion. Bury it and forget about it, but that's treating carbon as a problem to hide rather than a resource to use. This technology doesn't just reduce emissions, it turns them into economic value. It makes environmental responsibility profitable. The applause begins before I even finish my last sentence. It builds, and then people are standing, and the entire auditorium is on its feet. I see tears on Sarah's face as she stands in the wings. I see the Secretary of Energy nodding in approval. I see journalists frantically typing. And I see Melissa, still seated while everyone around her stands, her face a mask of shock and horror. The Q&A session lasts 90 minutes instead of the scheduled 30. Question after question, from people who actually understand the science, who want to know the details, who see the potential. I answer every single one because this is my work. I know it inside and out. I've lived with it through 2 lifetimes. When it finally ends, I'm swarmed. People want to talk about licensing, about partnerships, about investment opportunities. Sarah runs interference, directing people to schedule meetings, taking business cards, promising follow-ups. Through the crowd, I see Richard trying to approach. Our eyes meet and I shake my head slightly. Not here, not now, maybe not ever. The technology media goes insane. By evening, my presentation is being called the most significant development in carbon capture technology in a decade. By the next morning, New Gen's stock has jumped 40%. By the end of the week, we have licensing offers from 17 countries. Chen Industries' stock drops 12%. The comparisons between my presentation and Melissa's are inevitable and brutal. Side-by-side analyses show the similarities in the core process, and people start asking questions. How did Melissa Chen develop technology so similar to Xinyi Chen's? Why is her version less efficient? Why couldn't she answer basic technical questions about her own work? I get a call from Marcus, my investigator. The story's about to break, he says. Bloomberg got wind of the connection between Melissa and the former New Gen employee. They've been digging. It's going to be front-page news tomorrow. Let it run, I say. You could get ahead of it. Make a statement. Control the narrative. I don't need to. The truth will speak for itself. And it does. The Bloomberg article is devastating. It doesn't just reveal the theft, it details the pattern. How Melissa has built her entire career on taking credit for others' work, usually junior researchers and employees who were too afraid or powerless to fight back. How Chen Industries fostered a culture where Melissa was protected at all costs. How my research was just the most egregious example in a long line of academic fraud. Within 48 hours, Chen Industries board demands Melissa's resignation. My adoptive parents try to shield her, but the evidence is overwhelming. The company's reputation is in free fall. Several major contracts are canceled. Investors are pulling out. Richard calls me. I don't answer. My adoptive mother sends a text. Please, we need to talk. We can fix this. I block her number. Melissa posts a statement on social media claiming she's the victim of a conspiracy, that I'm jealous of her success, that the similarities in our work are coincidental. The comments section eviscerates her. People post links to the Bloomberg article, to the technical comparisons, to testimonies from other researchers she's exploited. Her career is over, and I feel not joy exactly, not satisfaction in her pain, but a deep, profound sense of closure, of justice, of the universe finally balancing the scales. 6 months later, I'm back in California, standing in the completed new gen facility. It's massive, processing emissions from 3 power plants now, converting thousands of tons of carbon per day. The building materials we produce are being used in construction projects across the state. Sarah joins me on the observation deck. The European contracts are finalized. Germany wants to build 5 facilities. France wants 7. The UK is in negotiations. Good. You know, she says, a year ago you were nobody. Now you're being called the future of environmental technology. How does it feel? I think about my first life, about dying in obscurity, my work stolen, my name forgotten, about the fear and loneliness and desperate need to be loved by people who never valued me. It feels like breathing, I say. My phone buzzes. It's an email from Dr. Whitmore asking if I'd be interested in speaking at MIT's environmental science program. Another one from the Nobel Committee, informing me that I've been nominated for the prize in chemistry. Another from a publisher asking if I'd consider writing a book about my research. I'm 28 years old and I own the most valuable environmental technology patent in the world. I have the respect of my peers, the attention of industry leaders, and the satisfaction of knowing I did this myself. Not because a family gave me opportunities out of charity, but because I was brilliant enough, determined enough, and lucky enough to get a second chance. My phone rings, unknown number. I almost don't answer, but something makes me pick up. Xinyi, it's Melissa's voice, smaller than I've ever heard it. Please don't hang up. I wait. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I know it doesn't change anything, but I need you to know that I'm sorry. Okay, I say. Is that all? Just okay? What do you want from me, Melissa? Forgiveness? Absolution? Permission to feel less guilty about what you did? She trails off. I don't know. I lost everything. My career, my reputation. Mom and Dad barely speak to me. I'm living in a studio apartment and working as a lab technician. Everything I built is gone. Everything you stole, I correct. Everything you built on lies and theft and other people's work, that's what's gone. I know, her voice breaks. I know, and I deserve it. But Xinyi, I'm your sister. No, you're not. The words come easily now. You never were, and that's okay. We were 2 people forced into a familial relationship by circumstances, by parents who thought charity was the same as love. But we don't have to pretend anymore. You can build a real career now based on your own abilities. You can be someone without stepping on others or not. That's up to you. Do you hate me? I consider the question. In my first life, as I died, I think I did hate her. Hate all of them. But now, standing here in this facility, surrounded by the fruits of my actual labor, I find I don't have the energy for hate. No, I say, I don't hate you. I don't really feel anything about you at all. I hang up before she can respond. Sarah is watching me with an expression I can't quite read. Family? She asks. Former family. The ones who tried to steal your work? The very same. She nods slowly. You know, when you first told me about them, I thought maybe you were being too harsh. Family is complicated, I thought. Maybe there were misunderstandings. And now? Now I've seen what you built despite them. I've seen the brilliance they tried to bury. And I think they didn't just fail to appreciate what they had. They actively tried to destroy it. She puts a hand on my shoulder. I'm glad you got away. So am I. We stand there for a moment, watching the facility hum with activity, watching carbon transform from a pollutant into something useful. It's a perfect metaphor, I think. Taking something toxic and turning it into something valuable. Taking pain and converting it into purpose. Come on, Sarah says. We have a meeting with the UN Environmental Program in an hour. They want to discuss implementing this technology globally. I follow her inside, leaving the past where it belongs. Behind me, transformed, no longer capable of harm. 5 years after my rebirth, I'm invited to speak at the Global Environmental Summit. It's the biggest stage in the world, world leaders and industry titans, broadcast to billions. I almost decline. I've never been comfortable with fame, with being in the spotlight. But Sarah convinces me. This isn't about ego, she says. It's about inspiring the next generation. Showing them that real innovation comes from dedication and integrity, not from taking shortcuts or stepping on others. So I go. The summit is in Geneva. The main hall is massive, every seat filled. I'm introduced by the UN Secretary General himself, who calls my carbon capture technology the most significant environmental innovation of the century. I take the stage edge to thunderous applause. When I was younger, I begin, I thought success meant being accepted, being loved, being part of a family that valued me. I can see people in the audience leaning forward, expecting a heartwarming story about overcoming adversity through the power of love. I was wrong, I continue. Success isn't about being accepted by people who don't value you. It's about valuing yourself enough to walk away from situations that diminish you. It's about having the courage to bet on your own abilities, even when everyone around you is telling you you're not good enough. The audience is quiet now, listening. I developed the carbon conversion technology because I believed in it, because I knew it could work, even when others doubted. And when people tried to take it from me, tried to diminish my contribution, tried to steal my work, I didn't let them. I pause, letting that sink in. There will always be people who want to take credit for your achievements, who want to minimize your contributions to elevate themselves, who see your success as a threat rather than a triumph. And you have a choice. You can let them. You can shrink yourself to make them comfortable. You can sacrifice your dreams for their approval. Another pause. Or you can refuse. You can stand up for yourself. You can protect your work, fight for your credit, and build something so undeniable that no one can take it from you. The applause starts, building like a wave. This technology, I gesture to the screen behind me, showing the global network of facilities now operating on 6 continents, exists because I refused to let it be stolen, because I valued it more than I valued the approval of people who didn't deserve it. And that's my message to anyone listening. Your work matters. Your contributions matter. You matter. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. The standing ovation lasts 5 minutes. I see people crying, nodding, pulling out their phones to record. I see young researchers looking at me with something like hope in their eyes. And in the back of the hall, I see Richard Chen, my former adoptive father, who flew to Geneva for this, who's been trying to reach me for 5 years. After the presentation, he manages to corner me in a hallway. Shenyi, please, just 5 minutes. I look at him, this man who is supposed to be my father. He's aged dramatically. His hair completely gray now, deep lines of stress carved into his face. Chen Industries never recovered from the scandal. They've downsized, pivoted, barely holding on. 5 minutes, I agree. We find an empty conference room. He sits down heavily, looking at me with something that might be regret. I made mistakes, he says. We all did. With you, with Melissa, with how we ran the company. I know I can't undo any of it. No, you can't. But I want you to know that I'm proud of you, of what you've accomplished. You're brilliant, Shinyi. You always were. We should have celebrated that instead of being threatened by it. You weren't threatened by it, I say. You just didn't care. I was never the priority. Melissa was your real daughter, and I was the orphan you took in, to make yourselves feel charitable. Everything else flowed from that. That's not, he stops. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's exactly what it was, and we just never admitted it to ourselves. At least you can admit it now. Does that count for anything? I think about it, really think about it. In my first life, I would have given anything to hear him say this, to hear him acknowledge my worth, my contributions. I would have forgiven everything for a scrap of approval, but I'm not that person anymore. It counts for honesty, I say. But it doesn't change anything between us. I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need your pride. I've built a life where those things don't matter. Will you ever forgive us? I don't know, maybe, but forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean I want you in my life. It just means I've let go of the anger. He nods slowly, accepting it. Your mother, she asks about you all the time. She can read about me in the news. Melissa is doing better. She went back to school, got a master's degree in environmental science. She's working for a nonprofit now, doing real research. Not trying to be famous, just doing the work. Good for her. She asks about you too. Richard? I use his first name deliberately. I'm glad you're all finding your way. I genuinely am. But I'm not part of that journey. I can't be. What happened, what you all did, it broke something fundamental. You can't come back from that. I understand. He stands, extending his hand. For what it's worth, I am sorry. And I am proud of you. I shake his hand. Goodbye, Richard. Goodbye, Shinyi. He leaves and I feel nothing. No sadness, no anger, no lingering attachment. Just a clean, clear sense of closure. 10 years after my rebirth, the carbon conversion technology has been implemented in 47 countries. Annual carbon removal has reached gigaton scale. The building materials produced from captured carbon and have been used in over 10,000 construction projects. The economic value created exceeds $500 billion. I'm 35 years old, and I've been nominated for the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for the third time. I've written 2 books, founded 3 companies, and mentored dozens of young researchers. I live in a beautiful house in Northern California, surrounded by redwood trees, with a state-of-the-art laboratory in the basement where I work on my next project. I have friends, real friends, people who value me for who I am, not what I can do for them. I have colleagues who respect my work. I have a life that I built with my own hands, my own brain, my own determination. Sometimes I think about my first life, about dying in that laboratory fire, alone and forgotten, about what the world lost when my technology was stolen and suppressed, about all the carbon that could have been captured, all the climate damage that could have been prevented. But mostly I think about second chances. Not everyone gets one. I did through some cosmic quirk, some inexplicable mercy. I woke up in my 25-year-old body with all my memories intact, and I got to do it all again. And this time, I did it right. I didn't trust the wrong people. I didn't sacrifice my dreams for approval. I didn't let anyone diminish my worth or steal my work. I built my life on my own terms, and it's beautiful. Sarah retires from Newgen, and they throw her a massive celebration. In her retirement speech, she talks about the future of environmental technology, about young researchers carrying the torch forward. But the person who taught me the most, she says, looking directly at me, wasn't a researcher at all when I met her. She was just a brilliant young woman with an idea and the determination to see it through. Shinyi, you changed everything. Not just the science, but the culture. You showed us what it means to have integrity in research, to stand up for your work, to refuse to let others diminish you. Thank you. The celebration afterward is joyful, full of laughter and champagne, and people who've become my chosen family. This is what I was looking for all along, I realize. Not the approval of people who couldn't see my worth, but the respect of people who could. Late in the evening, my phone buzzes. An email from an address I don't recognize. The subject line is, "From Melissa." I almost delete it, but curiosity wins. The email is short. "Shinyi, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I understand, but I've been in therapy for 7 years now, working through everything, and my therapist suggested I write to you. Not to ask for anything, but to acknowledge the full scope of what I did. I stole your research. I built my career on your work. I let our parents convince me that it was okay because you were just the adopted one and I was the real daughter. I let them prioritize my success over your dignity. And when you challenged me, I destroyed you. I turned the family against you, ruined your reputation, and stood by while you lost everything. I told myself stories to justify it, that you were too sensitive, that you were paranoid, that you brought it on yourself by being difficult. But the truth is simpler and uglier. I was jealous of your brilliance, and I took what wasn't mine. I can't undo it. In our original timeline, you died, and I never had to face what I'd done. I got to keep living with the stolen success, playing the grieving sister, never acknowledging my role in your destruction. But you came back somehow. You came back, and you built something I could never touch. Something so brilliant and undeniable that all my theft and lies looked pathetic in comparison. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. All of it. What I did, what it cost you, what kind of person I was. I'm trying to be better, to build something real, something mine. It's harder than I ever imagined. Every day I work in the nonprofit doing actual research, contributing my small part to environmental science. I think about how easy I had it before, how I just took your brilliance and slapped my name on it. I'm sorry. I'm so deeply, profoundly sorry. Not because I got caught, not because I lost everything, but because I hurt you, because I took your work, because I was cruel. I don't expect a response. I just needed you to know that I finally understand. Melissa. I read it twice. 3 times. Then I close my laptop and rejoin the celebration. Maybe someday I'll respond. Maybe I'll tell her that I appreciate the acknowledgement, that I'm glad she's doing real work now, that I hope she finds peace. Or maybe I won't. Either way, I'm free. I'm happy. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And that's more than enough. 15 years after my rebirth, I'm sitting in my laboratory working on a new project, a way to convert atmospheric nitrogen into fertilizer without the massive energy cost of the Haber-Bosch process. It's ambitious, maybe impossible, but that's what makes it exciting. My phone rings, unknown number again. I've learned to answer these. Sometimes they're journalists, sometimes collaborators, sometimes opportunities I'd never have imagined. Dr. Chen, a young woman's voice, nervous. My name is Lisa Park. I'm a graduate student at Stanford, and I need help. What kind of help? My advisor is trying to take credit for my research. It's a new solar panel design, and I did all the work, but he's planning to publish it under his name with me as a junior co-author. I don't know what to do. I lean back in my chair, smiling. Tell me everything. She does. It's a familiar story: brilliant young researcher, abusive advisor, stolen work. But this time, it doesn't have to end in tragedy. First, I say, document everything, every email, every lab notebook entry, every conversation. Second, get a lawyer who specializes in intellectual property. Third, and this is important, do not confront him until you have your ducks in a row. But the paper is being submitted next week. Lisa, listen to me. I know it feels urgent. I know you want to stop it right now, but if you move too fast, without proper preparation, he'll crush you. He has institutional power, established relationships, resources. You need to be strategic. How do you know all this? Because someone tried to do the same thing to me, and I learned, the hard way, that the system isn't designed to protect people like us. You have to protect yourself. We talk for an hour. I give her the names of lawyers, tell her about patent filing strategies, explain how to gather evidence without alerting her advisor. I tell her about making copies, about securing her data, about building relationships with other faculty who might support her. "Why are you helping me?" she asked finally. "Because someone should have helped me, say. Because brilliant young researchers shouldn't have to fight alone. Because the system won't change unless we change it." After I hang up, I sit for a moment thinking. Then I send an email to Sarah, to Dr. Whitmore, to 3 other colleagues I trust. I'm thinking about starting a foundation, legal defense fund and resources for researchers facing exploitation. Interested in being on the board? Within an hour, I have 4 enthusiastic yes responses. The Chen Foundation for Research Integrity launches 6 months later. We provide free legal counsel, help with patent applications, and connect vulnerable researchers with mentors who can guide them. We fund studies on academic exploitation and push for policy changes in universities and research institutions. Lisa Park successfully defends her work, files her own patent, and gets her advisor fired for academic misconduct. She's the Foundation's first success story, but not the last. In the first year, we help 37 researchers. In the second year, 89. By year 5, we're supporting hundreds, and academic institutions are changing their policies because they know we're watching. I think about my first life sometimes, about dying in obscurity with my work stolen. But I also think about this life, about the ripples spreading out from that one moment when I woke up with a second chance. I saved myself, and now I'm helping others save themselves. That's legacy. That's purpose. That's the carbon conversion technology of the soul, taking something toxic and transforming it into something that builds, something that lasts, something that makes the world better. 20 years after my rebirth, I'm 45 years old and I'm testifying before Congress. The hearing is about research integrity and preventing intellectual property theft in academic and corporate settings. Dr. Chen, the committee chair, says, "You've become an advocate for researchers facing exploitation. Can you tell us why this issue is so important to you?" I think about my answer carefully. Because brilliant ideas die in the dark, I say. Because the future of our species depends on innovation, and innovation depends on protecting the people brave enough to challenge the status quo. Because when we let theft and exploitation go unchallenged, we're not just hurting individual researchers, we're robbing humanity of solutions we desperately need. You speak from personal experience. I do. Early in my career, my research was stolen. I was gaslit, professionally isolated, and nearly destroyed. I got lucky. I had the resources and determination to fight back. But thousands of researchers don't. They're trapped in abusive academic hierarchies, exploited by corporate employers, stolen from by people they trust. Their work disappears, credited to someone else, and the world never knows what it lost. What would you recommend as policy solutions? I spend the next 30 minutes laying out a comprehensive framework: mandatory research attribution tracking, legal protections for whistleblowers, severe penalties for institutions that enable theft, funding for independent patent review, and establishment of a federal office to investigate academic misconduct. The testimony goes viral. Within weeks, legislation is introduced. Within months, it's being debated seriously. Within a year, the Research Integrity Protection Act passes with bipartisan support. I watch the president sign it into law on television, and I think about my previous life, about dying unknown, about my carbon capture technology being lost because someone stole it and then buried it out of spite. None of that happened this time. This time I won, and I used that victory to change the system that enabled my exploitation. The invitation arrives on a Tuesday, Chen Industries' 50th anniversary gala. It's a formal affair, black tie, celebrating 5 decades of innovation and excellence. I almost throw it away. But there's a handwritten note attached. "Xinyi, I know I have no right to ask, but please come. I need to say goodbye properly. Richard." He's dying. I know this because it was in the news. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4, months to live. The company is being sold, broken up into pieces. The Chen family legacy ending not with a bang, but a whimper. I debate for a week. Sarah tells me not to go, that I don't owe him anything. The foundation's board agrees. My friends say it will just reopen old wounds, but something in me wants closure, real closure. Not just walking away, but choosing to end the story on my terms. So I go. The gala is at a hotel in San Francisco, elegant and expensive and slightly desperate. Chen Industries is a shadow of what it was, but they're trying to maintain the illusion of prestige. I arrive fashionably late, wearing a stunning black dress that cost more than my adoptive family spent on me in an entire year. People recognize me immediately. I'm famous now in a way they never wanted me to be. The Dr. Xinyi Chen, creator of the carbon conversion technology, founder of the Research Integrity Foundation, advisor to 3 governments, Nobel laureate. I see Melissa across the room. She's 48 now, her beauty faded by stress and regret. She's with a man I don't recognize, probably a husband or partner. When our eyes meet, she looks away. My adoptive mother approaches me, moving slowly. She's aged dramatically, grief and guilt etched into every line of her face. Xinyi, you came. Richard asked me to. He's in the private lounge. He's been waiting. She hesitates. Thank you. For coming. I know we don't deserve. You don't, I agree. But I'm not here for you. I'm here for me. I find Richard in a small room off the main ballroom. He's in a wheelchair now, painfully thin, but his eyes are still sharp. Xinyi. His voice is weak. I wasn't sure you'd come. I wasn't either. He gestures to a chair. I sit. I'm dying, he says bluntly. You know that. I do. I've spent a lot of time thinking about my life, about what I built, what I destroyed, about you. He coughs, a wet, painful sound. I want you to know something. That day at the conference, when you revealed your patent was already approved, that was the moment I realized what we'd done to you, the scope of it. It took you that long? I know, I'm not proud of that. I'd convinced myself we were helping both of you, that it was complicated, that family dynamics were messy. But seeing you on that stage, brilliant and confident and completely beyond our reach, I understood that we hadn't just held you back. We'd tried to destroy you. Yes, I say. You did. I can't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted to tell you face to face that you were right about everything. You were the best thing that ever happened to this family, and we threw you away because we were small, petty people who couldn't handle your brilliance. I study his face, looking for manipulation, for a last attempt to extract something from me. But I don't see it. I just see a dying man facing the truth of his failures. Okay, I say. That's all, okay? What do you want from me, Richard? Absolution? I can't give you that. Forgiveness? Maybe someday, but not today. I came here because you asked, and I listened because you're dying. But I don't owe you anything beyond that. He nods slowly. The company is being sold. The buyers are breaking it up. The Chen family name in business ends with me. I know. Does that make you happy? I consider the question honestly. No, I don't take joy in your failure. But I don't mourn it either. You built a company on exploitation, on taking credit for others' work, on protecting Melissa at all costs. It deserves to end. Harsh. True. He laughs, which turns into another coughing fit. When he recovers, he's holding something out to me, a USB drive. What's this? Every piece of research you ever submitted to Chen Industries. Your original files, unmodified. I had it pull them from the archive. I thought you might want them. I take the drive, surprised. Why? Because they're yours. They were always yours, and because I want to do one thing right before I die. We sit in silence for a moment. I read about your foundation, he says finally. The Research Integrity Foundation. You're protecting people like you were, stopping people like us. Yes. That's good. That's really good. He closes his eyes. I'm tired, Shinyi, so tired. But I'm glad I got to see what you became. Even if I had nothing to do with it. Maybe especially because I had nothing to do with it. I stand up to leave. Jinyi? His voice stops me at the door. Yes? In another life, I would have been honored to be your father. My throat tightens. It's the closest he's come to admitting what I always knew, that he never really was. In another life, I say quietly. Maybe I would have been honored to be your daughter. I leave him there and I don't look back. He dies 3 weeks later. I don't attend the funeral, but I send flowers. The card reads, for the man who taught me that family is something you choose, not something you're born into. Shinyi. 25 years after my rebirth, I'm 50 years old and standing in Stockholm receiving the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. It's not my first Nobel. I got one in environmental sciences 3 years ago, but this one feels more personal. It's specifically for the carbon conversion technology, the work that was stolen from me in my first life, the work that defined my second. The King of Sweden places the medal around my neck, and I think about that moment in my previous life when I died in the laboratory fire, clutching my research notes, trying desperately to prove they were mine. In my speech, I don't talk about the science. I talk about integrity. Innovation requires trust, I say to the audience of global luminaries. Trust that if you work hard, if you discover something remarkable, if you push the boundaries of human knowledge, that work will be protected, that you will get credit, that your contribution will be recognized. For too long, we've tolerated systems that exploit researchers, that allow theft of intellectual property, that protect institutions and established figures at the expense of brilliant minds trying to break through. The Research Integrity Protection Act in the United States is a start, but it's only a start. We need global standards, global protections, global commitment to ensuring that the people who do the work get the credit. I look out at the audience, at the young researchers sitting in the back, hoping for their own breakthroughs. Your work matters. You matter. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Don't let anyone steal your contribution. Don't let anyone diminish your value. The future depends on your courage to protect your own brilliance. The applause is thunderous. After the ceremony, there's a reception. I'm introduced to dozens of people, other laureates, politicians, industry leaders. And then I see her, Melissa. She's 53 now, gray-haired, dressed simply. She's standing at the edge of the room, clearly uncomfortable among the Nobel crowd. I could ignore her, pretend I didn't see her. But instead, I walk over. Melissa? Shinyi. She looks like she might cry. I didn't think you'd talk to me. I almost didn't. I'm working for the Environmental Justice Coalition now. We're implementing carbon capture technology in developing countries. Using your technology, actually. I wanted you to know that I'm trying to do some good. To contribute something real. That's good. I know I can never make up for what I did. But I'm trying. Every day I'm trying. I look at her, really look at her. The arrogance is gone, replaced by something that might be humility. The entitlement has burned away, leaving someone who's learned hard lessons. I'm glad you're doing real work, I say. I mean that. I saw your Nobel speech about protecting researchers. Was that about me? It was about a system that enabled you, that enabled people like Richard, that prioritized image over integrity, credit over truth. You were a product of that system, Melissa, but you were also a willing participant. I was. She takes a shaky breath. I've written you so many letters, emails. I never sent most of them. I got the one you did send, about 7 years ago. I didn't know if you read it. I did. And I think about my answer, about revenge and justice and mercy, about the person I was in my first life and the person I became in my second, about what it means to truly move forward. And I appreciate you acknowledging what you did. I appreciate that you're doing real work now. But Melissa, we're not going to have a relationship. We're not going to be sisters. Too much happened, too much damage. She nods, tears spilling over. I understand. I just wanted you to know that I see you now, the real you, the brilliant, incredible you, and I'm sorry I couldn't see it before. Okay. That's all? Just okay? What else is there? You apologized. I acknowledged it. We both moved on with our lives. This is closure, Melissa. This is the ending. I walk away back into the crowd of Nobel laureates and dignitaries, leaving her standing there. It's not cruel, it's just finished. 30 years after my rebirth, I'm 55 years old and retiring from active research. My carbon conversion technology is now operating in 127 countries. Annual carbon removal has reached 5 gigatons. The building materials produced have been used in over 100,000 construction projects. The economic value created exceeds $3 trillion. The Research Integrity Foundation has helped over 10,000 researchers protect their work. Academic theft has dropped by 47% in institutions we monitor. 23 countries have adopted versions of the Research Integrity Protection Act. I've written 5 books, founded 7 companies, mentored hundreds of researchers, and changed the world in measurable, undeniable ways. I'm tired. Gloriously, satisfyingly tired. I sell my companies to people I trust to run them ethically. I step down from the foundation board, though I remain an advisor. I keep my laboratory, but I work on whatever interests me, with no deadlines, no pressure, no agenda beyond curiosity. I buy a house on the coast of Maine, quiet and isolated, perfect for thinking. I spend my days reading, researching, taking long walks on the beach, and occasionally consulting on projects that excite me. One day, I get a letter, actual paper, delivered by mail. The return address is a hospice facility in Arizona. Inside is a single page, handwritten, Shinyi, I don't have long now, weeks, maybe days, the doctors say the cancer has spread everywhere. I thought about asking you to visit, but I know you won't. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to have something. I've left instructions with my lawyer. When I die, my estate, what's left of it, will be donated to the Research Integrity Foundation in your name. It's not much. Maybe a few $100,000 after debts, but it's all I have, and I want it to go toward protecting people like you were. People I failed. I've lived a long life, but I've only been proud of the last 10 years. The years since I finally stopped lying to myself about what I did to you. Thank you for existing. Thank you for being brilliant. Thank you for refusing to let us destroy you. I'm sorry, Richard Chen. He dies 4 days later. I don't attend the funeral. There isn't one, just a quiet cremation. But I do accept the donation to the foundation. The money establishes the Richard Chen Memorial Fund for researchers facing institutional betrayal. Some people ask me why I'd name it after him, after what he did. I tell them it's a reminder, a warning. Every researcher who gets help from that fund will know the story of a man who stole from his daughter, who enabled her destruction, who built an empire on exploitation, and who died trying to make amends he could never fully make. It's a ghost story with a moral. Don't be Richard Chen. I'm 60 years old when I get an invitation to speak at the orphanage where I grew up. They're dedicating a new science wing, funded by a grant from the Research Integrity Foundation, and they want me to cut the ribbon. I almost decline. I haven't been back since I was adopted at age 8. The memories are painful. Loneliness, abandonment, the desperate hope that someone would want me. But something makes me go. The orphanage has changed. It's brighter, better funded, with actual resources for the kids. The new science wing is beautiful, state-of-the-art equipment, dedicated lab spaces, a library full of research journals and books. The director, a kind woman named Mrs. Park, gives me a tour. We're calling it the Dr. Shinyi Chen Center for Scientific Excellence, she says. We want these kids to know that where you start doesn't determine where you end up. That brilliance can come from anywhere. There's a plaque on the wall, my name, my story, my patents. a photo of me receiving the Nobel Prize. But there's also this. Dr. Chen lived in this orphanage from ages 3 to 8. She went on to change the world, so can you. I feel tears prickling my eyes. Can I meet the kids, but I ask. We go to the common room where about 30 children are waiting, ages ranging from about 5 to 17. They're nervous, excited, looking at me like I'm some kind of superhero. I sit down with them and we just talk about science, about dreams, about what it means to come from nothing and build something, about protecting your work, about choosing your family, about second chances and third chances, and never giving up. A girl about 13 raises her hand. Dr. Chen, what would you say to your younger self if you could go back? I think about my rebirth, about literally getting that chance, about what I'd tell that 25-year-old version of me who woke up with memories of a life stolen and a second chance to get it right. I'd tell her that she's enough, I say, that she doesn't need anyone's approval to be valuable, that her worth isn't determined by whether a family loves her or whether people acknowledge her contributions, that she's brilliant all on her own, and the right people will see it, and that if the wrong people try to take what's hers, she should fight back with everything she has. The girl nods, writing it down in a notebook. After the event, Ms. Park pulls me aside. Thank you for coming. The kids will remember this forever. Thank you for inviting me. This place, it shaped me, even though I didn't realize it at the time. Learning to be self-sufficient, to not rely on others for validation, to find my worth internally. Those lessons save me later. Your donation is changing lives here. Kids who never would have had a chance in science are getting opportunities now. Good, that's what it's for. As I leave, I look back at the building, at the science wing with my name on it, at the kids inside, learning and dreaming and believing they can be extraordinary. This is legacy too. Not just the technology, not just the foundation, but this. Showing kids like I was that the circumstances of your birth don't determine your destiny. That you can come from nothing and build everything. That you can get knocked down and come back stronger. That you matter. I'm 65 years old and I'm writing my memoir. Not a scientific biography, but the real story. The whole story, including the parts I've never told anyone. Including my rebirth. My editor thinks I'm writing metaphorically. A psychological rebirth, she calls it. A reinvention after trauma. I let her think that. The truth is too strange, too impossible. But it's my truth, and I'm telling it. The book is called Second Chances, A Life Reclaimed. It starts with me waking up in my 25-year-old body, gasping with the memory of smoke in my lungs. It ends with me standing in that orphanage, looking at the science wing named after me. In between, I tell everything. The theft, the betrayal, the family that never loved me, the strategic planning, the patent approval, the moment I watched Melissa's career implode. The foundation, the congressional testimony, the Nobel Prizes. Richard's death and Melissa's apology and my choice to move forward without them. But I also tell the harder truths. About how revenge didn't feel as good as I thought it would. About how success couldn't fill the hole left by the family I'd wanted. About how justice and healing aren't the same thing, and sometimes you get one without the other. About how I learned to be enough all by myself. The book publishes to critical acclaim. It's controversial. Some people think I'm too hard on my adoptive family. Others think I'm too sad. Some people love the revenge story. Others wish I'd reconciled with Melissa. But the letters I get from readers aren't about that. They're from people who've been exploited, stolen from, gaslit by institutions and families and people they trusted. They're from researchers who protected their work because of the foundation. They're from kids in orphanages who saw the science wing with my name on it and believed they could be scientists too. They tell me the book gave them permission to walk away from toxic families, to fight for their own value, to refuse to shrink themselves for others' comfort. One letter from a young woman named Sarah, not Dr. Chen, different Sarah, says, I was about to withdraw my patent application because my advisor told me it was selfish to compete with his project. Then I read your book. I didn't withdraw. I fought. I won. I'm starting my own company next year. Thank you for showing me that I could. I frame that letter and hang it in my office. This is why I told the story. Not for fame or money or to settle old scores, but to light the path for people walking the road I walked, to tell them they're not alone, to show them that fighting back is possible, that protecting yourself is not only okay, but necessary, that you can lose everything and still win in the end. I'm 70 years old when I get the call. Dr. Chen? This is Director Park from the orphanage. I'm calling about one of our kids. Her name is Jenny. She's 15 and she's you, or she's like you. Brilliant in science, but struggling with attachment, with trust. She asked if she could meet you. I'm supposed to be retired. I'm supposed to be done mentoring, done with public life, done with everything except quiet research and beach walks. But I hear myself saying, when? I meet Jenny at the orphanage. She's small, intense, with eyes that have seen too much, too young. She reminds me of myself at that age, hungry for knowledge, desperate for connection, but afraid of it. We sit in the science wing, my science wing, and we talk. I read your book, she says. The part about being reborn, about getting a second chance and doing it right. What did you think? I think it's bullshit that you needed a second chance. You should have gotten it right the first time. It's not fair that people could steal from you and almost destroy you before you got to win. I laugh. You're right, it's not fair. So why did you write it like it was a triumph? Like you were grateful for the rebirth? Because I am grateful, not for the betrayal, not for the theft, but for the chance to make different choices, to not let fear control me, to value myself enough to fight back. She's quiet for a moment. What if I don't get a second chance? Then you make the first chance count. You protect your work from the start. You don't trust people just because they say they're family. You build your worth on your own foundation, not on anyone else's approval. That sounds lonely. Sometimes it is. But it's better than the alternative. Better than giving everything to people who don't value it. Better than shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. Do you have a family now, a real one? I think about Sarah Chen, dead now for 5 years, who mentored me and became like a mother to me. About the researchers I've mentored who call me on holidays. About the friends I've made, the colleagues who respect me, the community I've built. Yes, I say. I do. But I chose them and they chose me. That's the difference. Jenny nods slowly. I'm working on a project. Bioplastics from algae. I think I can make it work, but I need better equipment than the orphanage has. Show me your research. She does. It's brilliant, rough, unrefined, but the core concept is revolutionary. She's 15 years old and she's already thinking at a level most graduate students don't reach. How would you feel about working in my lab? I ask. I'm mostly retired, but I have the equipment, and I could use an assistant. Her eyes go wide. Really? Really. But there are conditions. You do the work. You keep detailed notes. You protect your intellectual property from day one. And if anyone tries to take credit for your research, you fight back immediately, no hesitation. I can do that. I know you can. 5 years later, Jenny patents her bioplastic technology at age 20. She does it under her own name, with my mentorship acknowledged but her contribution unmistakable. She gets into MIT with a full scholarship. At her graduation party from high school, she pulls me aside. Thank you, she says. For everything, for the lab, for the mentoring, for showing me it was possible. You did the work. But you made sure I got credit for it. That's not nothing. That's everything. I pull her into a hug. You're going to do amazing things, Jenny. I can't wait to watch. Will you? I mean, I know you're not my mom or anything, but would you come to my MIT graduation? In 4 years? My throat tightens. I'd be honored. She's not my daughter. I'm not her mother. But she's my legacy in a way that patents and foundations can't be. She's proof that the cycle can break, that exploitation doesn't have to pass from generation to generation, that someone who's been hurt can turn around and protect others from the same hurt. I attend her MIT graduation, and 4 years after that, her PhD graduation, and 8 years after that, her Nobel Prize ceremony. Dr. Jenny Park's bioplastic technology replaces petroleum-based plastics in 80 countries. She's brilliant, fierce, and absolutely uncompromising about protecting her work and her credit. And when she gives her Nobel speech, she thanks me, not as her adasi, mentor, though I was, not as her inspiration, though I was that too. She thanks me as her family, the family she chose, the family that chose her back. I'm 80 years old, and I'm sitting on my porch in Maine, watching the sun set over the ocean. The carbon conversion facilities are running all over the world, pulling gigatons of carbon from the atmosphere every year. The Research Integrity Foundation has protected tens of thousands of researchers. Jenny Park is revolutionizing materials science. A dozen other researchers I've mentored are changing their fields. I think about my first life, about dying at 27 in a laboratory fire alone and forgotten, about my work being stolen, my name erased, my potential wasted. And I think about this life, about waking up with a second chance and using every single moment of it, about building something so extraordinary that no one could take it from me, about protecting others so they wouldn't have to suffer what I suffered. My phone rings. It's an unknown number, but I answer it anyway. Dr. Chen? A young man's voice. My name is Marcus Chen. I'm Melissa's son. My mom just passed away, and before she died, she asked me to call you. I go very still. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. She talked about you a lot, especially near the end. She wanted you to know that the best thing she ever did was try to make amends. She said she knew you never forgave her, but you gave her the chance to become someone worth forgiving, and that was a gift. I close my eyes. Melissa, dead. The last connection to that family, gone. Is there a funeral? A small memorial, this weekend. She said she didn't expect you to come, but she wanted you to be invited. I'll think about it. I don't go to the funeral, but I send flowers. The card reads, "For someone who learned to value real work, may you find peace. Shinyi." It's not forgiveness exactly, but it's acknowledgement. Recognition that people can change, even if the damage they did can't be undone. That night, I dream about my first life, about the laboratory fire, about dying alone. But this time, when I wake up, I'm not gasping with fear. I'm smiling. Because I won. Not just against the people who tried to destroy me, but against the universe that let them try. I took my second chance and I built something magnificent. I protected myself, I helped others, I mattered. And now at 80 years old, I can finally rest. My work will outlive me. The carbon conversion technology, the Research Integrity Foundation, the researchers I mentored, the changes I forced into systems that protected predators. But more than that, I'll leave behind a story. A true story about a girl who was stolen from, betrayed by family, destroyed by the people who should have protected her, and who came back and won anyway. Not through luck, not through charity, not through anyone's mercy, through her own brilliance, her own determination, her own refusal to accept less than she deserved. That's my legacy. That's my story. And I lived it twice, so I could get it right. The sun sets completely and I go inside. I have research to do tomorrow. A new project, just for fun because I can. Because I'm free, because I won, and that's more than enough.